What is good, guys, and welcome back to Team COJ here. And today, guys, I have a special guest, Rudy Torres, who has been just the father of the IB Lions, the Infernoble man himself. Rudy, thank you for joining us today. And what are you going to show us today?
Awesome. Hey, man, glad to be on. Love this channel, so I really wanted to, do this with you. So it's awesome to be here. So today I'm going to discuss on why I think that IB is actually a very, very strong engine to run in the deck. It's wonderful because it's very, very strong use for extension, as well as it allows you to freestyle your hands a lot more than like the generically playing, through Angelica can let you do because of the amount that allows you to perform. So we're going to be showing off and discussing why, these two cards as like an opportunity cost for playing this are definitely something you should consider while building your deck.
And you helped me put it into perspective, because I struggled for a little bit with this, that essentially this is no different. And I call her Ibsold because she's like the new Isolde, but when we played Isolde, we were forced to play like DDR and Phoenix Blade, and Beckoned and World Legacy Succession is pretty much the same cards, or do the same thing in the sense.
Yeah, for the most part, these two function in the very similar way, where Beckoned is a card that you obviously don't want to draw like Phoenix Blade, but there are hands where you draw it, it's just completely fine, especially with like the variant of the deck that I built, where you can discard it with stuff like Witch, and since it can summon from the graveyard, it's completely fine. And then Succession in general is just a fine draw overall because it's Monster Reborn and can allow you to play through certain hand traps that you wouldn't have played if you didn't have it. So overall, I mean, as far as an opportunity cost to play, they're actually fine cards, and I actually prefer them to having equip spells in the deck. Granted, I think we all wish Assault was back.
Yep.
This isn't, not avenging the fallen, but I think we got to make do with what we have right now. And personally, I think this is probably one of the best options we have, and that you should highly consider.
Agreed, yeah. The deck definitely went from a two warrior dot deck to a Synchro 5 strategy, and IB is like the best Synchro 5, generic Synchro 5 in the game, so we got to abuse her for sure. So go ahead and show us the sauce.
All right, so I believe in most of the builds that you're playing, if you had viewed my deck profile or viewed the deck profile on some other YouTube channels that are using the Battle and Boxer engine, the one card line through Power Tool Braver and Infernal Flame Banshee is very, very powerful. I know a lot of people have asked me after I posted my deck profile where I got 7th place in Georgia. And I'll just show that to you off now, and it's great because it uses like everything that the deck wants to go through and to gain a lot of advantage, and IB is a core part of that. So you're going to start off with normal summon Uppercutter. Obviously it's going to add Spar, special summon Spar. Noted this is not once per turn to special summon Spar when you control a Battling Boxer, and that's like the reason the lines are played the way they are. You're going to overlay into King Dempsey. Dempsey's going to use his effect to search for a level 4 lower Fire Warrior, and who is the best level 4 lower Fire Warrior in the situation? It is Renaud, or Renaud, however you want to pronounce it. You're going to use Dempsey's effect to detach, and it's very important that you don't use Dempsey's effect to detach when you search for Renaud. It's because you don't want to get impermed and lose both the effects, because you want a way to play through hand traps with, your copies of Museum, Heritage, Durendal, etc. Because you're able to move through the combo line as if no hand trap even happened when you open those extra extenders, which is very nice. So then you special summon out Renaud, add back Spar, special summon Spar yet again to Synchro 5 for IB, and this is why the card is very, very good. So you're going to go ahead and use her effect to add you Succession, and then you're going to link 2 off into one of, either IP or Hida or whatever, because you're going to be able to use this to link climb. So you're going to link it off into Hida, and this is also very nice because here, you're discouraged from getting ashed if your opponent has Ash Blossom and decided not to use it. At this point in the combo, you can actually play through a very, very poor Ash Blossom, which is very, very nice, with one card. So this is going to trigger IB's effect to summon out Beckoned by the World Chalice. Now, you're going to use World Legacy Succession targeting IB to summon to the zone the link monster points to. So you're going to summon this out, and they're going to Synchro 9 into our friend Power Tool Braver, and these Power Tool Braver's effect to activate from deck Joyous and Durendal. Now this part is where it gets a little bit wild, so I'm going to activate Durendal to add Turpin from the deck to the hand, and then I'm going to use Turpin's effect to special summon because I control a monster equipped with an equip spell. He's going to come out here. I'm going to use Joyous effect, targeting Spar to add back to hand, because we are going to use it when we make our next link. So we're going to link all the way up into Promethean Princess. Yes, we have to use the Braver, but that's very important note that he's mostly seen as like a way to step up into these higher level links because he's his ability to grab equips from the deck is very, very good because it just gains you a lot of advantage. We're going to use Promethean Princess effect to special summon Uppercutter from the graveyard. Then we're going to special summon Spar because we control Battling Boxer. Then I'm going to overlay for Infernal Flame Banshee. Activating Infernal Flame Banshee's effect, detaching exactly the Turpin. I'm going to search and then use Popular's effect to special summon itself, and then use its effect to add Snake Eye. Yeah, this is very, very complex, but it gets you to a really good spot in the end. So then you're going to activate Snake Eye, Sending Princess, to summon up everyone's favorite level 1 Fire Warrior tuner, which is Richard, using his effect to bring back the Turpin. You synchro these two off into our Fair Lady Angelica. Then Angelica is going to trigger her effect to add Museum, and then for the most part, we all know how this part goes. You're going to activate the Museum. Museum effect is going to add Almace here. Then you use Turpin effect. It's important that you use Turpin, have Turpin in the graveyard. This is why this line is very, very powerful, because you don't have to use Museum to add an equip, then immediately spend the equip to trigger your Angelica. You can just use Turpin in the graveyard to target the Angelica. She's going to chain to summon out Roland and then send Gearfried, which, because we don't have to use Almace, we can now pick up Gearfried because we also have a level 4 to synchro summon into Charles. So that's why this line's very, very cool. So then 5+4, we're gonna make our man Charles. Gonna use one of the equip effects to equip the Charles to link off into the Emperor Charles. Use the effect to equip the Synchro Charles. Then we're gonna synchro these, summon these two off. Or sorry, not synchro summon, link these two off into SP Little Knight. Use Museum effect to summon up the Charles. Equip the Almace. Either way it works. You can use Almace first or you can use Almace second. Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. Equip Charles to Charles, and then add back the Gearfried. And then use Gearfried effect banishing Almace or Joyous to special summon out. Noted that you can, instead of Gearfried, dump Roland, and then you can have access to Ring instead of the Gearfried in this line, which is completely fair if you want to play around something like Dark Ruler. But I think this is like the best line to do in like a game 1 generic kind of scenario. And then end phase, Angelica's going to return, and then Charles is going to pick up. For me, I prefer Malgus and Durandal. So you're ending on this board right here as we see it.
I have found like when you're like, I have found that when you end on like one Charles, you normally want to grab like some like Ogier or Oliver for protection, because that one, you don't want to just like frame one, get baited with like, you know, Imperm or top deck rip Imperm. But when you end on multiple Charles, I find myself going for Malgus a lot more too, just because you just like, if they want to waste an Imperm, you can expend a Charles Negate for, you know, you can use Charles send the Malgus, so it's like they pretty much let you just draw one card.
Yeah.
So,
for the most part, I think that's very strong. And you also want more equips to send with Gearfried, because you have 3 equips that you have to send to get your negates off.
Yep. And then sometimes I've even found that you go turns without even having to use Charles's, like the Roland and Graveyard to equipped. So like you are sending all 3 of the equips on the field to because sometimes they just don't commit or they don't put anything worth, you know, to destroy out there. So, but yeah, this is pretty sweet, man. This is like insane when you look at like card economy. 1 Uppercutter equals like 5-6 forms of disruption, or can equal up to like 6 forms of disruption.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you get hand trapped and you have like a Museum or Durandal in hand, it ends on 5 because you lose the Gearfried because you have to use Durandal. So you have to go through a slightly different line, but it ends on still 5 forms of disruption with the same like amount of follow-up, because you get Malgus, you get Princess in Graveyard, you get Angelica triggers, and you get obviously Charles. So you end on like a lot of cards back in your hand after, like, even if they break your board, you still have 6 cards in hand, which is amazing.
But yeah, it's completely phenomenal. So yeah, so I guess what is the next combo you're going to show us, or the next line?
So the next line that Ib is an incredibly valuable piece is actually versus Droll and Lockbird. I know a lot of people are if they play this deck, they might be very scared of Droll, because you have to completely think differently about how you play into a card like that, because it basically forces you to go outside your comfort zone and play in a very, very weird way. But
yeah,
go ahead.
It reminds me, like, back in the day before the banning of our Fair Lady is Old, that like Droll was never really a hindrance to this deck because we always sniped it with Dolphin. But ever since the connector package has become like not a 1-card combo, but like a 2-card combo-esque, thing, then people have got off of the connector stuff. We've been more acceptable to Droll, but I have found that you just have to play, as you said, kind of like oddly underneath of it. If you expect it, you got to just like sequence your plays differently.
Yeah.
And
there are ways to play around it where you're like, instead of, I discussed how like Uppercut is such a good card because you can search it with Durendal and then do your full combo through it. But there are times where you go, I'm going to search Ogier instead and play it out of my graveyard in case I do get Drolled. I can still on 4 or 5 interruptions, which is why the deck is still very, very strong into a card like that.
For sure, yeah. So I'm excited. I think, is this the combo you were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
all right, I can.
It does require Uppercutter and then Black Witch plus 1 discard, and I'm going to use Beckon to show you why it's like not going to brick you out of your mind. Because it's a very good example, actually. So you start off with Uppercutter, search, spar, and then your opponent is going to discard Droll on your first ad. So Droll is here, just so we know that we are playing under Droll. So we are then going to special summon Spar because we control a Battling Boxer. Then we're going to special summon Black Witch by discarding your card, and then use Black Witch effect to go ahead and set your OSS. Then you're actually going to immediately activate your OSS to summon out Richard. Now, if you discarded the Fire Warrior or anything that Richard can revive, you're actually not going to use Richard Revive here. It's very important that you don't, because you are going to synchro off into Ib here. Yes, you can add Succession, but there's a very, very important reason, which we'll get into. So, you now have 5 and 4. That's going to make Power Tool Braver. Braver's going to use Braver's effect, and then Ib's going to use her effect. So Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, so in case they have Ash Blossom or whatever, you don't get ashed on the Ib. Bring back out the Beckon, and then Braver effect is going to get equipped to itself. Might ask why not 3? Well, we'll get into that. So, activating Joyous effect, you're going to add back Spar from the graveyard, destroying Joy, and then you're going to use Almi's effect to equip an equip spell from your deck onto a card onto the field. What do you control? So you're going to equip Durendal onto Beckon. This part is really cool. I freaked out when I found this myself. So then you're going to link Beckon off, because it is a vanilla normal monster, into Link Spider. This is going to trigger Durendal because the card it was equipped to got sent to the graveyard, and you're going to summon back Richard. This is why you don't trigger Richard in the first place. Richard's going to trigger to summon back Uppercutter. And then now that you control a Battling Boxer, you can special summon a Battling Boxer from your hand, so you can special summon Spar. Going off, you're going to synchro off into Captain Roland. Triggering Captain Roland's effect because you can send an equip spell to the graveyard. You don't have to add to be able to activate the effect, which is very nice. Then you're going to synchro summon off into Emperor Charles. Then you use Roland targeting Charles to equip to link off into the Link 1. Link will in effect to target Charles to equip. Then you synchro off into, not synchro, I keep saying synchro, like SP's a synchro monster. You're just going to link off into SP, either way. And then you can banish a hand trap they use, because there's ways to play through this if they hand trap you or stuff. But yeah, then you go end phase. You resolve Roland effect. You're going to send Ring for no ad, which is again completely fine because you're getting an extra form of disruption for basically for free. Especially since Angelica would not have been good because you can't add Museum. You're not going to have anything to target her with. And then you're going to use Charles effect to pick up Ring plus Malgus or Oliver. I prefer Oliver here because again you want the protection for the single Charles. So this is what basically the 2-card combo underneath Droll can give you. And you can actually play through like Droll Ash because you have cards like Hida and Princess to continuously play through those cards. So there are many ways to play in the like the sort of freestyle mold your hand to the situation thing. But this is the step-by-step combo.
Yeah, this combo blew me away when you said it. And if you're not a fan, like you said, the deck's already adaptable. If you're not a fan of like the witch stuff, just pretty much any way to get to Ricky Ardetto without using the cards you can pretty much get you to this as well. Which this just kind of blows my mind. So it's like underneath the Droll, you technically end on like 4 forms of disruption.
Yep.
And I mean, it's almost better if they do disrupt you, because if they hit you with Droll Ash, you get to a Princess on top of it. It feels like, so you get even another layer of disruption just by them hand trapping you. So it almost punishes them for hand trapping you. Yep.
And that's why Hida is such a great inclusion in the deck. This line is very, very strong. You can add more onto it if you like draw cards like Ogier. You can summon back Ogier, and that dumps Turpin. You can make, there's so much you can do when you start like really freestyling with the deck and seeing how like what you can do with your individual hands, which I recommend test handing and like learning how to play your hands very, very efficiently.
Oh yeah, this has to be one of the like. This deck has like a bunch of like 1, 2, 3 card particular lines to follow, but truly its freestyle is just remarkable as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like
100%
it's just it can be molded to almost any situation, unless you open like all 3 of your equipped spells and like your beckoned and something like that. Then it's kind of rough, but for the most part, the deck is very flexible in its like plays, and like truly it can just adapt to almost any type of hand trap, which is really insane.
Yeah. This is just a personal experience. I played 3 regionals, 3 weekends in a row, and the only time I actually like bricked, quote unquote, was drawing like 4 hand traps. So the deck itself plays through mostly everything if you play correct ratios and you make sure you do the math. So a lot of like the whole bricking, like worried about bricking, is not like a reasonable concern in my opinion, because of just how you can build the deck, which is very, very nice.
I agree, and it sounds like you bricked on hand traps is like the one thing that this format, it's like necessary evil for the format.
Exactly.
You have to play a lot of hand traps, and you just play by having to do that, you fall into like the slim chance that you might just see a handful of hand traps and that be it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But sometimes seeing a handful of hand traps plus uppercutter is also very nice as well.
Yeah, if that uppercutter goes through,
you
have
GG.
Yeah, you have 6 interruptions plus 3 to 4 hand traps in hand, which is also very nice. So.
Yeah, so, all right, so what is the next line you're going to show us here for Ib?
So the next line I'm going to show you for Ib is actually something that's very nice. It's not using Uppercutter, it's using Ogier. So Ib is not a card that you have to start with. It is a card you can actually extend your plays with, which is very nice. It gives you a lot of flexibility in how you mold the plays. So if you don't start with Ib, there's ways you can start Angelica and then continuously combo off to help, protect your plays or make even bigger boards or dilute your line so your opponent doesn't know where to hand trap. They might like hold an imperm they have, they might just hold it to see what you're doing. And then versus our deck, that's awful. So
yeah, see, I ended up telling everyone at my locals that, I was like, if you have hand traps, hold them for Angelica. And that was a big mistake on my part, because now at locals, everyone holds them for Angelica. And it's like, if I wasn't playing in my locals, they would have threw these hand traps earlier. But since I told them always wait for Angelica, they always wait for Angelica. So I get punished pretty hard.
Yep. So that's the whole reason why I decided to go with the package. It helps you play through so much. So the next combo is Ogier plus OSS. It could be Black Witch. It could be 1-for-1. Most of these cards that just let you get Richard onto the field. So we're going to start by normal summoning Ogier. Ogier, using his effect, we're going to send a level 4 lower Fire Warrior. So not 4 lower. We're just going to send a Fire Warrior. We're going to send Turpin to the graveyard. We use Turpin effect to equip. And since it becomes a face-up card in the field, it becomes a material we can send with original Sin from Spoils to summon out Richard. Now, people might say revive Richard with Richard here, but we're not going to do that because Richard has a second effect, which is very, very strong. So, we're going to Synchro Summon off into Angelica. We're going to use Angelica's effect to search Museum whenever we get her onto the field. There she is. We're going to add Museum. We're going to activate Museum. Pay my 1,200 life points to add a copy of Infernal Arms Durandal. And then we're going to activate Durandal on Angelica here. Nope, you're not chaining Angelica here because we're going to use Richard's second effect. So we're going to activate Durandal to go ahead and search for Battling Boxer Uppercutter because it is a level 4 or a level 5 or lower Fire Warrior, which is actually just amazing. It's why I love this engine so much because it's so searchable. You get to it almost every game. But then we're going to use Richard's effect to banish stuff from the graveyard to special summon Uppercutter from the hand to trigger its effect. So we're going to go ahead and search out Spar, wherever he may be. So Spar. Then we're going to special summon Spar. We're going to overlay into Dempsey. And then we've seen this before. We're going to use Dempsey effect to search for Renaud. Going to grab Renaud here. And then when we get Renaud, we're going to use Dempsey's effect to detach to make Battle Boxes untargetable. Special summon Renaud, targeting Spar back to hand. Special summon Spar. Then we're going to synchro off into Ib here. We're going to activate Ib effect to go ahead and add Succession. Now I might say, well, what are you going to do here? You don't have a way to target Angelica. Are you going to like try and link climb into Hida with like Angelica on field? Or what's going on? So this is also why it can be very confusing to your opponent because this seems like a very random way to use your resources. But if you don't know, Ib's a tuner. So we're going to go ahead and synchro our 5 and 5 off into Baron. And we're going to trigger Ib's effect in Graveyard to go ahead and summon Beckon from the deck. There he is, and then we're actually gonna link Beckondoff into Link Spider. So now we have a link arrow for World Legacy Succession. So we're gonna activate Succession to bring back Angelica to Zone of Points 2. Now, this is also one of the things where you can now mold the line to how you want. You can like target Angelica with, you know, Ogier to send off and do some stuff there, or you can mold it in other different ways. But the way I'm going to personally do it is I'm going to link all three of these off into Banshee. Not Banshee, into Promethean Princess. And activate Prometheus effect to, again, summon out Angelica a third time. Then I'm going to use Ogier effect to target Angelica, and we're going to go through the same song and dance that we all know and love about this deck. Effect to target Angelica. Very big note that if your opponent knows how Angelica works and they try and chain block, you do it this way, so then you can use Baron effect to target Angelica, and if they have yet another way to stop it, you don't actually destroy your Angelica, which is very important. But then we're going to go Ogier target Angelica, chain Angelica, to send off, let's see what we got here. We're going to send off the Malgus, wherever he may be. Malgus can use this effect to shuffle 3 back and draw, so we're going to put them back just for clarity's sake. So the Richard to get it back in deck, the Renaud and the Durendal. Or not the Durendal, the Spar. So those are going to go back in deck. You're going to have an extra card here, so if it's a museum or whatever, you can have extra draws, and then we're going to summon the Roland. Use Malgus effect targeting Baron to equip. Turpin effect to special summon. Sigroth banish that into Charles. Use effect target to equip. Effect to destroy the Promethean Princess. Link off into Emperor. Effect targeting Charles to equip. So if you had like an extra equip, or if you use Baron to target Angelica, you just bring this up, use Ogier to target to link off into the second Charles. So you do get double Charles plus Baron plus Princess in Graveyard through this. But there are and double draw of Malgus, but there are ways to do it like safer, so you don't have to do something certain ways. So let's say I use Baron that can end on this, and then obviously you go end phase. This comes back. This triggers to go and equip 2. So equip this and equip Oliver, because you want to get that protection. And then you have everything that you need, which is 2 spell traps, a pop, an Omni Negate. You have Princess effect, tag out. And then you also have the draw of Malgus, another draw of Malgus, and all the follow-up from Princess and all that stuff. So it's an impeccably good line.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like you said earlier, like just by like, if you want to play safely through hand traps, you just use Ogier to target the Angelica and then let them try to hit it with a hand trap. Then you can just use Baron later. But like if you don't, it's how crazy how adaptable it is. Like truly, yeah. Like it's truly remarkable.
Yeah, and it's just what's great because it's how you want to play. You can give up a Charles Negate for making sure Angelica is safe from multiple hand traps, like because people are playing something like Abystial or DD Crow or whatever that they want to disrupt the Angelica targeting effect. Is once you start playing against very, very high level advanced players, they'll understand that you can chain block this when you try and target it with something. So you can have multiple ways that set yourself up to counterplay that, which is why the deck is very strong.
Yeah, and that's something that I think some people got to understand is Angelica has to chain to the effect targeter. So like if the opponent has the ability to respond to the equipped, so like Angelica can miss timing, quote unquote. So it's really important for you to like, go effect to equipped, ask them if they have a response. If they don't, then you can chain Angelica. It's just one of those timing things that we've had experiences at our locals and stuff like that. Even sometimes me, or like in the very beginning playing the deck, I'd be like effect and chain Angelica to the effect, then they'd hit me with something. Whereas as like, if I just wait and see, because I'd just be like effect chain and then they'd hit me with imperm, where it's like later on after getting better with the deck, I'd be like effective to equipped, and then they would be like, does Angelica trigger? I was like, it can, and they'd chain something to it, then I'd be able to trigger it later because it misses timing.
Exactly. So
yeah.
And then another thing to note, that lines where you do use this to climb up into Princess, I believe you stated it in your video where you can go chain Angelica to Dub Uppercutter, and then you can search any Fire Warriors because you can go Uppercutter effect to summon back Dempsey because of Promethean targeting Angelica. Very
yeah.
strong. So much follow up, and it's really ridiculous. So
it is, and yeah, you were the one that actually told me about that. I thought that, I always thought Princess had to destroy like both, and you're like, no, it doesn't. And I read, I was like, oh my goodness, I was like, that's insane in our deck. Like, Princess should have to destroy both, honestly.
Yeah,
but for some reason,
it's very silly. And the one last thing is, I know people are probably screaming at their screen. What about nib? What happens if you open these cards and you go through these combos? And what if you get nibbed? Well, luckily, there are ways to play around it in the same hands that we have been showing you. So in all these hands which have OSS, you're always safe through nib because Link Spider send the token to make to go ahead and summon Richard, and you go through your combo that way. But what if you open two cards that aren't Link Spider or OSS or Black Witch or Wanted or the plethora of cards we have? There is a very good way to play through nibs. So I'll show you that right now, and this will be the last time for today. So we're going to normal summon Uppercutter. We're going to grab a Spar, special summon Spar, and then we're going to special summon Renaud right now without making Dempsey. You'll see why. We're going to go ahead and Synchro Summon off into... I got it right. It's that Synchro one, actually Synchro. We're going to Synchro Summon off into Ib. Ib is going to add us Succession. Wherever Succession is. Figure I'd be what... better prepared. It's probably left on. There it is. So we're going to add Succession. And then we're going to again synchro off. So keep track. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to synchro off into Power Tool Braver Dragon. Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2. We're going to equip 3. So we're going to go for Joyous, Almace, and Durandal. And Ib is going to summon out Beckett. Now you think, well, why is this a nib safe line? This is a nib safe line because if they drop nib on 7-5, you have Succession. And what Succession allows you to do is, most of the time, through any time they nib you, you're able to access a rank 4 through that nib because you have Link Spider bringing back a 4, and another way to get a 4 on board, whether it be like bringing back Uppercutter, adding Spar back to hand, or, you know, whichever it is. But Succession is also able to bring back another 4, and you're able to make Banshee, and then you're able to play through that way. So, I'm going to show you that now. So, say they don't even want you to get the Eclipse on Braver. They're just going to nib you on 5. So, you're going to get nibbed. Boom, that goes to the graveyard. You get your nib token, and then Beckett gets summoned out. Well, then you're going to link 1 into Link Spider. And then again, like I said, you're going to activate Succession to bring back a 4. To overlay into Infernal Flame Banshee, and activate her effect to detach, to add Poplar, and then special summon Poplar to search OSS, and then you have full combo. Because this is basically what you wanted to do the entire time. So then you can link these 3 off into Princess, activating Princess effect to bring back a Battling Boxer, or you can even bring back this to add this back to hand if you want to, like, if you have extra cards in hand you want to help play through because you haven't used Renaud effect this turn. Activating Sinful Spoils, sending off the Princess for Richard. Activating Richard effect to bring back this, or again Renaud, either one if you want to try and get a lot of value out of it. So we actually are going to do Renaud, so we can try and make an SP. Then we're going to synchro off into Angelica. Activate Angelica effect to add Museum. Activate Museum effect to add Durandal or Joyous or whatever. You're going to activate effect targeting this, chain it off, to send Ogier, summon out the Roland, and synchro off into Charles, equip Roland to Charles to make for the
good old Charlemagne.
Yep. Old Charlemagne to Link Charles. Equip this. Then we're going to activate Museum targeting this to equip. OG effect target to equip, and then use museum to bring it out. Museum effect to send our good friend Roland. I'm going to link off into SP Little Knight. So then you can go effect of Charles to pop a nib when you have that token. Then you move into the end phase. This returns, and then the old Roland special. You're going to add ring, equip ring, and then equip Oliver or Malgus or whichever you choose. So through getting nibbed with a 2-card combo, this is when they resolve nib. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions, and you got rid of their nib because you also have the princess. So
that's crazy. And that's also assuming they don't let you get the equips. Like if you would have got the equips too, like it'd have been even crazier.
Yeah, and if you get the equips,
so this is like
if you get the
worst
equips,
case scenario. Yeah,
exactly. So in best case scenario, you actually use the Durendal to search for Oliver, and then special Oliver, and then you try and climb into a Baron, and then equip Oliver to the Baron, so now the Baron is untargetable. So if you don't get nibbed and they have it, you can go, and they say they imperm the Baron, you can just say go ahead, and then they try to use the nib anyways, and then you can still play, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy. So, well, thank you so much for showing these lines, my man Rudy. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this brings some more more clarity to playing IB, if for those who have been questioned about it or had questions about it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just huge shout out to you, man. You're practically the father of the IB lines, actually. So I know you were cooking all this IB stuff as soon as the ban list happened or shortly after it. So a lot of these the success the deck has had with IB should be accredited to you for sure.
I appreciate that.
But anyway, guys, please remember to like and subscribe. Also, go check out. I'll make sure to have a link down in the description below, showing Rudy's top 7th place, right? 7th place Georgia deck profile.
Yep.
So you guys can hop over and check that out. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is Charleston Team COG, and we're signing out.
Take care.